Mandate.
What's up, fam? Welcome to Mandate, where we talk about issues pertaining to our people and in particular to our men. This platform is about having open talanoa around certain issues, but also look at ways where we can refine who we are as men, unlock our true potential, and take charge of our lives. So it's an honor and privilege to have our special guests this evening. My name is Charles, and that's our co-host, my co-host, Bettia Wilson, aka Mad Messenger. He will introduce our guest, but don't hold it against this guy if you find out he's originally from West. We welcome him with open arms. We've given him our pass to live in our hood, but I'll give it over to Mad Messenger.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. Hey, it's going to be a good night tonight. I think we got a very great guest tonight, and so he's hailing from the Samoan villages of Vaingalu Lepa and Vai'e Safata. He was born and raised in West Auckland. He currently holds an double LM honours / BA with a specialised focus on Pacific peoples. He's an enrolled barrister and solicitor of the New Zealand High Court and has worked for the University of Auckland Faculty of Law and served on the Pacific Lawyers Association Executive Committee. And in 2019, he was selected onto the Mangere Otahuhu Local Board, which is one of the highest concentrations of Pacific peoples in Aotearoa. He also works as a legal educator and community advocate for the Mangere Community Law Centre and serves on the board of directors at the Oceania Careers Academy, OCA. Not too sure if he's still in, are you still in the Henderson Ecclesia?
Yeah. So
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Also a member of his local church, the Henderson Ecclesia Whaputupotonga o Samoa I New Zealand, and he also works alongside youth as a teacher. He's also an avid supporter of the Moru Samoa rugby team and enjoys reading Samoan literature. But also for more malangi mama, kuku katua, no mai, haere mai. Welcome to the show, Mr. Harry Fatu Toleafoa.
Hey, what's up, boys? Good to be on the show. Absolute privilege. Thanks, Charles. Appreciate the pass. Even though you used to live in the richest areas of Papatoi, I know you guys are the 1%ers with your $1 million homes, but don't worry. We're still out here living right across the road from the MIQ and Mangele. But no, absolute privilege, boys, to share this platform and to support you guys in your mandate. But yes, I was a son of the West. Until they just had a recent cluster, so no longer representing Wesley anymore. But yeah, blessed to live out here in Mangere and share your part of the world, paradise or the promised land, as I tell my West Side families. But yeah, still involved with church, so still with the Lord in some way or form. It's been a while since you guys have been to church. I can see as well, so great so we can all fellowship as well. But it's just a real good pleasure to jump on the show, chop it up and talk smack. But thanks for the bio. It took you can always be just do those humble ones, do those fake humble ones. But keep going. But I think our show's almost finished just on the bio alone. So thanks, thanks.
No, all good, Harry. Hey, Harry, just before we kind of dive into the conversation and the interview also, and we've been asking every guest that comes in recently in terms of lockdown. I know we're in alert level 3, but we just want to touch base and see how you've been, more so mentally, Harry. How have you been this time around in terms of lockdown, and how have you been up in here, bro?
Yeah, oh man, it's been a struggle, I'd probably say in the past, the last two weeks, I think we look at last year. I think there was a novelty about it, Oh, what's this? Being locked down at home, and you enjoy it. But I think this time around, I think not just myself, but a number of people and organizations have just got that lockdown fatigue now, I think we're getting a bit fatigued, and especially, we've got family out west and even out here. They're not being able to see it. I think it makes it worse when you're in the same city as people, and you can't even go visit your olds and stuff like that. So it's been a bit tough, and I'm glad you asked that question as well, because, on a platform like this, you're tempted to say, yeah, everything's all good, but the reality is, no, it's been tough. But working with other families, you realize how tough other people have it. So I'm grateful there's that real spirit of gratefulness. But yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough, but we get by.
All good. Thanks for your honesty as well. Sorry, Harry, just in case you see me kind of looking down all the time, it's not because I'm not listening. I'm just jotting down things you're talking about and some of the things that you're sharing. So just in case you thought, this guy's rude, he's not even looking. So yeah.
I just thought you were doing your title pages from social studies.
And that too. That's it.
The mandate title pages for the next podcast. All good.
All good. There you go.
Sure, so Shucks, I see that you have your background, you got the whono there. What is your involvement with the whono, and do you want to share a little bit about what the whono does for our people or for the community?
Yeah, so real proud to be a part of the whono. So I sit on the board for the whono as one of the ethnic reps. So but the whono in essence is it started off as a healthcare provider, but we've branched out into various other areas. So it's healthcare, we provide social services. So anything from family start to whānau ora. We've got dental services as well, and then we've got an educational arm. You don't even want to see my teeth, man.
Hoka sabus.
Small.
I just, did some movements by house for the women. So even though I'm on the board for these guys, they're like, hey, you see it, this guy here. No, but in essence, it's a 5 Pacific, 4 Pacific service. So we've got a real key focus on doing things the Pacifica way. I think that there's a real value in having that Pacific ethos. So I'm real proud to be a part of this organization, and we've led alongside South Seas, alongside other Pacific health providers. We've really led, try to lead the way in terms of the COVID response. So I've had a big hand in servicing or helping with the AOG cluster. So if you guys remember, there's just down the road, obviously there's AOG, but just down at what's that place called Jet Park. Yeah, we've been helping provide additional packages and additional food services and stuff like that, and support for the families that were affected by COVID. We run a food bank called the Wheleoko Food Bank, in which, just to give you guys an idea in terms of the amount of food packages we've delivered. So we've delivered 8,000 food packages, and this just highlights the kind of extent of the gravity of food insecurity that our people are facing. And so that's, just a little heads up in terms of what the whono do. But we started with health, but then as we recognized that there are other areas that our Pacific peoples faced, then, with the leadership, with the strong leadership and governance, they were able to kind of branch out and look at this area. So we started with social services, then we looked, our people can't afford dental, so got into dental. And then we looked in terms of, we need to address education. So we developed the Oceania Careers Academy, which which help our people, especially our young men and women as well, get into vocations by buildings and trades. So we're trying to identify, Pacific kind of issues, and then we provide the solutions in a Pacifica way. And if it's good for Pacifica, it's good for everybody. Obviously, I'm a strong believer, man. We got the tools. There's that there's that saying, if you stand on this particular starfish, crown of thorns, and you pierce your foot, the actual antidote is actually you just flip it and you stand on it again, and you actually cure it. In the same sense, we hold the solutions for our own problems, I believe. And I think there's a way in which we've got it that we can actually, be the solutions for our problems.
Wow, shucks, man! I just met you today also, and just read up on you, and just looking at some of the stuff that you're involved with, and Brad, just wanna honor you and just honor you for the work that you do. And bro, you're not even 30 yet, or have you turned 30?
Yeah, or I was one of those black out guys that repeat team form 4 times. Just a little bit first 15 title in 2001, 2002. That was a bad year, though.
What I said to your cousin.
the year you guys stole Daniela Moore from Southern Cross, where he just put a clinic on Caston. But nah, 33, bro. But I appreciate the compliments, man. And likewise, honestly, man, getting these conversations on the platform or highlighting the successes, it really reaches out to people, eh? And if I can be totally honest, when I was speaking to Mad Messenger earlier, when he was like, don't be, celebrate the successes. I know we have a real insecurity, and I have a real insecurity as well with dealing with success. Like I was cringing when you're reading the bio and what you've achieved, and over time, you realize, people fought for you, or people prayed for you, or people assisted in you achieving those things. And when you put that in perspective, the achievement's not yours, it's everybody's. And so it's still an insecurity that I deal with. But there's always that temptation, that real, almost fake humbleness kind of thing. I think as a journey as a man, and I wanted to touch on that today, was that, when people compliment you, or when people acknowledge your achievements, I think you have to accept that, and there's a time and place for it. Bahalangis do it absolutely brilliantly when it comes to them shouting out their achievements and stuff. And then when you come from a culture, like we all say, a culture of humility and success, humility and real kind of like you should do stuff in the background, you don't really kind of blow your own trumpet. But I think as we mature and as we become more secure with our achievements, we realize that there's a time and place to absolutely, blow your trumpet. And the case in point is our CV, honestly. When it comes to employment and stuff like that.
That's true.
Man, honestly, it's, because I'm a reference, I do references for heaps of people, but I see how people undersell themselves big time, when it comes to putting their best foot forward. But you can understand when we come from a culture of humility, and we come from a faith which encourages us to be humble. But so I had to kind of in my mind, it's like, just let it go, just just accept. When people compliment you, you accept it with gratefulness. But just remember, people fought for you to kind of.
Yeah, well said, bro. And I think it's like this: we're stepping into a new age where we're trying to balance the tension of that, like being humble, this false humility, but also like as people just celebrating and elevating one another. And we've got to like step into that. And so I love your achievements. I've been watching Israel Adesanya and the whole city kickboxing, and the way they celebrate each other, and the way they really, when their brother goes into battle, and the way they just help them get to where they are, and they also the way they celebrate, and the way they they suffer their losses together. It's mean. I was going, man, those are the type of people I want in my circle. Man. If you ain't celebrating me like that, then you ain't the one.
And man, often those are the people that are present during your struggles, and they're the ones you whalangi, or they're the ones that you celebrate in your successes, and you recognize in your successes. It's so true, man. Like, and I'm reflecting on the speech as well when he shouted out all the fighters that went before him. MMA isn't recognized here in New Zealand. It wasn't celebrated, but honestly, you're totally right. They're the ones who put on their people. They put on their circle. They recognize them in their times of success. So yes, I totally agree, bro. I totally agree. It's interesting, that's the KB situation, man. But I think it's another tough conversation. I guess the country has to have about, this is Nigerian when he this is us, but he's New Zealand when he wins his titles. So to our players, we succeed for the All Blacks, and then all of a sudden Samoan when they get the law. So
that's true. I remember when Tana Umanga and them had their altercations in the pub, and they left them out to dry, man.
Hard up, man. That's facts, bro. Honestly.
So I read up on you, and I was and it shows how passionate you are about just our people and our achievements. And one of the things that was asked in one of the articles was that, what do you like least, and how can we fix it? And you wrote down here, or you said it was institutionalized racism. Do you still feel the same?
Yeah, absolutely. And if COVID identified something, this is if you ever needed an example, then look at COVID. When we talk about institutionalized racism, we're talking about systemic challenges. So if we take mental health, for example, there's a reason why we've got, the lowest health outcomes alongside our Māori. It's not accidental. It's actually deliberate. We look at the actual system in itself. And there's a new report called Pula Sautu, in which a couple of colleagues of ours highlighted. So even before we're born, like our Pacific woman here, right, they have lead maternity carers. So say, for example, my wife or, your partners get pregnant, and then they select, a midwife, for example. Not the level, but not the quality, but the amount of midwives that we have in counties Manukau alone, where we stay, is limited compared to, say, for example, if we lived in more affluent areas like Central or, rich parts of Auckland and stuff like that. So even before we're born, right, our women don't have the access to the number of, midwives and stuff like that to even support them in their pregnancy. So even before we've taken our first breath, we're already on the back foot. You look at NCDs, so your non-communicable diseases, your diabetes, your gout, and so on and so forth. We feature highly. And then we look at the shops that are in and around our areas, salad bars, they're takeaway stores and so on and so forth. So that's what we mean by institutionalized racism. It's when the system is actually set up, right? The system is set up in a way which only kind of recognizes the dominant group, which happens to be Europeans here, and it benefits them. So it keeps the structure in place. Why change a structure if my culture is going to benefit the most from it, which just happens to be PNZ? And so these are byproducts of colonization. So the Māori is all working through it. You look at Māori statistics, for example, 1 in 2 prisoners, so 60% of our prison population are Māori. That's not by accident. That's deliberate. That's what happens when you dispossess Māori of their land. You over surveillance them. You're not setting up roadblocks in Remuera. You're setting them up in Mangere and all these particular areas that have high concentration of Māori and so on and so forth. So that's what I mean by institutionalized racism. And look at what happens when the government trusts Pacific providers. Like, look, imagine if they trusted the Whānau or South Seas earlier on to let them take care of the vaccination process. We wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't be in this situation because we would have got our numbers up. We would have got our Pacific people. So I reckon there's I could go on for it for days, but that's why I feel passionate about it. Because it's these systems that continually produce the same results. And I guess I got to challenge all of them out there. So why is that so? Well, it's because we have to actually disrupt the system, and whatever, whether it be this platform, or whether it be a government, or whether it be in your workplace, if we slowly play our part, no matter how small it is, then we can see that systemic change that can overthrow racism. So
that's awesome. That's me.
Ooh.
So in terms of because some of our men, we suffer because of that systemic institutional racism, and we're sort of byproducts of it. And then some people are aware of it and then stand up, they fight against it. But then there's others that are really disempowered. What are some solutions or encouragements you have for men that feel that way? Because you've got people from the outside looking in and go, oh, it's your guys' choices, but not realizing there's a history and there's just all these systems that are put in place that really disempower our people.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's a really good question. I think we can't view them in isolation. So for the brothers who are doing well, right? For the brothers that are doing well, it's on you to mentor the brothers that are disempowered. It's on you to, just because I'm doing well, my success is measured on my brother's success. So if he's failing, then man, what's the point of me living my best life? If I know that so there's a real kind of responsibility on those who are doing well to check in, to mentor our brothers. It goes back to that aspect, I think, of mentorship and collectiveness. So no matter how well you're doing, you're always measured by the brother who's doing the least, or the brother who's struggling. So I'm glad you raised that question, but I place the responsibility more on the brothers that are doing well. For the brothers who are feeling disempowered, it's understanding you can draw the line of personal responsibility. I think we have to be real about that. Some of our choices have been, I guess, self-inflicted, but like you pointed out, the system was designed, like if we call it as it is, was designed for you not to succeed. So you have to take comfort in that. And I'm doing my best that I can at the moment, given the circumstances, just to get by. And it's, especially in this day and age, especially in COVID, it's a success just to get to the end of the day. But, that's what I'm saying. So you can't view it in terms of itself. Yep, draw the personal responsibility, but realize this is a system against you. And then where do I look to my other brothers to help get me through? And that's how I package it, or that's how I answer it in terms of the question.
Wow,
that's awesome.
So cool, Harry. Because that's a cool answer, Harry. I love it that you, in terms of empowering it, and because I can see your passion, and I can sense your passion. I can hear it. And I think on the same article that Charles kind of quoted you on, I read the same article. It was on stuff.co.nz. Is it the one, Charles? Look, was it the one?
I can't reveal my sources. But, yeah.
Was it the men's bodybuilding? Was it?
I think it was in Woman's Day or something. and he was pacing like this.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's the same one. Same article, Charles. But I think it would have been in the 2017 Harry. I think it was called "Look Who's Talking," Harry Toleafoa. And the thing is that because when you're speaking, we can sense your passion, and the proof is in the pudding, because it really is what you say and what you preach is what you teach is what you preach, and what you do, and the actions behind it. I also want to quote, because on the same article, whoever quoted or whoever asked you those questions, it was kind of like rapid fire questions. They asked you the question. The question was, when I've got a free few hours, I like to, and this is you. I'm quoting you, Harry. You said this: I like to teach. I love working with our people, educating and empowering our people. Empowering our people are two of my greatest passions and privileges. And as the proof is in the pudding, and you just already said it. I didn't have to say anything, but you said it. But I'm real curious, because a lot of men who might be watching this, Harry, might think, what's the drive? What's the drive? I want to know what's the drive, and because you are passionate, and so describe for us, if you could, Harry, the passion as to why you specialize or focus on the Pacific people, and what does it look like for you, and tell us what really drives you, besides to do what you do.
Yes, several drivers, but I think one of the key ones, there's just a calling that is on your life, that God, it's really like, I think there's particular passions that, I think when God designed you, there's particular talents and skills that He's blessed you with, and there's particular convictions that He places on your heart to kind of drive that fuel. And then I think the experiences crafted me to kind of fully understand and feel that passion. So I think there's a calling first and foremost. That was my calling, was to empower and educate people, and then He granted me these particular experiences that shape that conviction that drives me, and I'll share a little bit about those experiences. When I was 16, I had a run-in with, or 17, sorry, I had a run-in with a police officer. And when this incident happened, you realize a particular powerlessness, because you didn't know what the law was, or you didn't necessarily know what your rights were. And I think that drove me a lot in terms of granting me this kind of drive or fire that I'll never want to feel this powerless ever again. And not just that, I don't want to let my most vulnerable kind of ever go through that situation ever again. And so, there was that incident that kind of drove my passion, is that because I was young and I didn't really know, what your rights were, kind of thing. And then when I was studying at university, what really kind of helped shape that passion was I worked as a rubbish collector for Onyx during the summers. And man, if there's a job that will humble you, you try picking up rubbish for like 12 hours a day. And then you realize absolutely how privileged you are. I was working with guys who just came out of the joint, sergeant of arms, old OGs kind of thing, and like people that, either came out of prison and stuff. And you realize how powerful education was then and there. And I realized how privileged I was to be studying what I was at the time. And if I look back, man, I realize I'm grateful to God for putting me through those experiences, because it just drove the passion, but always gave me that reminder that if you ever crack it, these are the very people that I designed you to actually go serve and empower. So that's what drives it, Like, that's what, I can go on more experiences, but those are key ones for me that highlight how important it is to kind of use the skills or the platforms that God has blessed you with. Because not everybody's called to education. I'm not saying education is the greatest measure of success as well. Because you could be the best vocationalist, best builder, or so long as what you're doing in your life is of service to others and is part of your calling, then I reckon, man, I take my hat off to anybody who calls that. But in terms of my journey, that's what really drove me to do what I do, And then, your parents always say, yeah, hello, I love your parents, like, it's a real kind of, I think there's a real pride that parents have for particular professions, And they're like, well, look, I'm really like, oh my man, always going to become a reverend, or going to become a doctor, or going to become, a lawyer. They're just usually the professions, But it's more like, I think, diversifying what we measure as success. I don't believe, being a lawyer or whatnot, can be successful. But man, if you're the best father, or if you're the best kind of builder or whatever, or laborer, and that's your calling, to me, that's the greatest measure of success.
Wow, that's so cool. That's so good, man, Harry. Because the next question I want to ask you, because it seems like appropriate to ask you this. For those who want to kind of go on a similar journey as you, Harry, in terms of law and studying law and masters of law, that's amazing. Also, what are some of the things for our men, or even young men, more so our young men, in terms of refinement things that they need to stop or change in terms of reaching or achieving certain goals, if it's similar to your goal, reaching their goal. So what are some of the things that you had to refine, Harry, in this journey in terms of achieving your goal, your goals?
Man, there had to be sacrifices that were made, man. Like, that was one of the key things, like, I had to do, was just reflecting in terms of refining it. If I reflect on my education journey, there's a reason why they tell you to go to class, or they try and instill that routine, because anybody who's been to university knows that it's markedly different from high school, They want to instill that routine and structure, so you go to class all the time, kind of thing. So you build that work ethic. I was really good in high school, went to class and so on and so forth. But once I experienced university life, where there was no structure, it was solely on you, that discipline kind of went out the window. And I lived a sheltered life in the sense that it was just church, family, home. And when you got to university, oh man, you just saw all the LaSalle boys hanging out at Shadows and going to the clubs and stuff like that, trying to get me to come with us. Like, no, I'm not about that life. But yeah, actually, man, it opens your eyes to a totally different world, And so a lot of that discipline, a lot of that structure went out the window, And now, with obviously maturity and hindsight, you realize, oh, that's why they try to get us to be whamaongi now in our studies and stuff. But that was the refining process, was actually being disciplined, knowing that, hey, I got to turn up to class. I got to prepare my readings and stuff like that. I got to actually devote the time that's necessary to actually do well. And I took that for granted. I honestly took it for granted. And even now, when I look back on it, I took it for granted. And I think there was one year where I failed. Like there was one year where I bombed. I think I actually recall it was 2010. And I bombed that year. And I remembered, I think, there's those moments when the penny drops, and I think, I didn't really value my father's sacrifice, or my parents' sacrifice until that particular turning point, in 2010. So it bounced back strong in 2011, 2012, but it was, the sound of your old man waking up early in the morning to go work, and then, you squander your opportunity, mucking around at university and stuff like that. And when, you sometimes stick to it, but sometimes you lose sight of that kind of sacrifice. But that's what really kicked things back into gear. It really helped me refine and examine my process in terms of approaching school, in terms of, utilizing the time and opportunity and stuff like that. And I was reaffirmed by a family reunion we had the following year, which highlighted their journey from Samoa, the sacrifices that they made just so we could go to university and do well. I think it's those kind of refinements. What also makes, that process even better, they got that kind of saying, show me your friends and I'll tell you your future kind of thing, And, bad company corrupts good character. So if you surround yourselves with good friends and you have that good social circle that want the best for you and stuff like that, and can help, you succeed, and that's all you can really ask for. In saying so, they don't have to be the best. I mean, they can be gangbangers or whatever. It doesn't mean that they don't have the best aspirations for you, Doesn't mean that we neglect those friends, But there's a time and season where, okay, these boys will keep me through. So I'm grateful to my church boys, to my university boys and my family. They were able to keep me in check, or keep the encouragement going. And even our church, if I could just put in a brief plug, they set up, so there were a bunch of us university students from the church, and they allowed us to study in the church, and pretty much there was, church members will come drop off food in it for the kids. So our minister was real progressive like that. Wow. He realized that we were the future, and they provided that wraparound support for us to do well. And then that's the refining process. Man was taking the biggest losses and having to recalibrate, having to stock take and go, this is what I need to do to do well. And it's an ongoing thing. You've achieved your goal, but even in my current workplace as well, still doing that same process again and again. I want to be the best, or if I want to operate at this particular level, what do I have to? How do I review my process? How can I do well in terms of the goals that you want to achieve? Sorry, it's a bit more of a clinical answer.
That's so cool, Harry. I think a lot of people, not even just young men, but even men in general, need to hear this. I love the fact that you're saying you can't just be kind of hanging out with a crowd, and very well that's kind of you're going down a path of destruction. And I think a lot of our men need to hear that. And for you, in terms of your successes and the things that you're doing, you've experienced it. You know what it's like, and I guess we can all talk about it in terms of our own lives. But man, for you sharing that, it's like, man, that's cool, bro. That's awesome.
Do you have a service where we can book you and you can come talk to our teenagers? Yeah, our teenage kids, because I'm telling them the same thing, but they're not listening.
Honestly, a prophet is not, honored in his own hometown. Like when I talk to my family, because this guy's full of just talking smacky. The same person say, I get you, Charles, or you, Bettina, come speak to my kids, and you speak to the same message I said. So they'll be laughing, like, oh man, this guy's the bomb. Just I don't know what it is with these kids, but honestly, I think it's so true. Like, I don't know if people get sick of hearing you again and again, but then when you speak to the same crowd or to a new crowd, the same message as the guy before.
Hard up.
That's so true.
Yeah, I love that, bro. So we talked about your drivers. I know education has been a big part of what shaped you. Like, who or if what had inspired you, like, to go on this journey or to do what you're doing now, other than those drivers you talked about?
Oh yeah. I probably, inspirations. Oh man, my parents, like, there was always the kind of the inspiration to honor what they done, and I never fully understood the sacrifices until I became a parent myself. But yeah, when that, for me, that's kind of the inspiration. It was my father in particular. I think it's the same story for heaps of us, eh? Like, we left everything in Samoa. It's only until when you travel to Samoa, you sleep on the whaleo, or you have to go get your own vai and that, then you realize, shucks, they actually left here with little command of English, came, navigated the world, and then, like, managed to put us all through as well. So when you think about it, eh? Like, I don't know how they made their budget stretch. Hey, here I am getting money, but so I'm still what they put us all through. Like, they had all these life skills that put us through, and that to me was my sole inspiration. It was was my parents, man. Like, I really took my head off, and I think that's what hurt the most during my refining process was when you've let your parents down, when you haven't done your best. And that's fine. And I think that's an important part of your journey is knowing your failures as well and sharing it with your families. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm grateful for was I took the L that year, I took the loss, but equally just turned it into, fueling the fire even more. And I think, like, one of the turning points was communicating to my parents, especially my daddy. It was like, man, I can only do my best, and sometimes that will fall short of your expectations. And it's something that, I had to be realistic. I worked at the law school, and I looked after Pacific law students. And one of the biggest challenges that I had was communicating to parents, in particular, managing their expectations. I think it's a key thing of all fathers out there, or even our parents or our young men. Like, we have expectations of ourselves, but at the same time, don't be too hard if you don't meet them. Don't think that it's all doom and gloom if you don't. Like, we just have to be realistic and just take your lessons from it and roll on. So, but telling parents that you have to manage your expectations, because law school is incredibly hard. You're dealing with the best of the best getting through, and this is not easy, and we need them on board. But managing those expectations was one of the biggest kind of challenges that I experienced during my time over there. But I hope that answered your question, But my parents, man, and my family.
That's awesome. It just, shucks, it just brought me back to just my dad and all that. Was your relationship with your dad quite close in terms of communication?
So if I give proper context, so my parents, we grew up in a traditional Samoan family home. We don't really express the feelings and stuff like that. And to their credit, obviously you're coming from Samoa, it's real structured to over here in New Zealand, where it's a different kind of ball game. So my older brother, my two older siblings got it the hardest, especially my older brother. He was raised in the true Samoa, where he never spoke back to my parents up first, doing the mea ai everything. So I owe a lot to him, and he put us through high school, university as well. In high school, he had done folks as well. So, but when I look at the parenting side of things, my parents kind of almost, made most of their learnings with my older brother, And then as we grew up, we kind of got the more lenient, they mellowed out. When they got grandkids now, oh man, they spoil them like crazy. The McDonald's money out of nowhere kind of thing. It's one of those I'd say, like, as I grew older, and as we grew older, we hard out talk now. We hard out have that, that dialogue. But when I remember as a child, there wasn't that much kind of expression of emotions and stuff like that. And I understand,
Yeah.
They never expressed it, but man, did they demonstrate it through their actions, eh? Yeah, and it wasn't until older now, you know, that the real loving side, or they openly express it, eh?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So you gotta realize, eh, those are cultural norms.
Yeah.
We grew up with, eh? And it's a part of us as well. Might take a different form, but it's a part of us as well. And so, you know, to us, because we're navigating two worlds. It's the cultural world, and then there's the actual Western world in which we live in. So I'm not saying, you know, let go of that. I'm saying there's a way in which we can move forward that can have the best of both worlds. So there was a general progression of my parents, and even my relationship with my father. He was very strict, always knew how to get the best of me. But you know, I was one of those ones. I'd rather get the beats than get those talks. That was a 22 for me, man. Was like, you know, I think that still sticks with me to this day. You know, and I think, I don't know if it's for men, but for me personally, I always seek my father's affirmation. Like, you know, my mum loves me. I'm a mama's boy, but you always sought that approval from your daddy. And I know when I do well, he'll never communicate it. Like, he always, like, you know, try to be better and stuff like that. But I know deep down inside, you know, there's a pride and joy that they have. But can be my greatest critic and then my best support as well. So that's fathers for you, I guess. Yeah. So
I don't.
My old man is at the moment. So yeah, but he still works in a factory, man. Still works in a factory, and but you know, I think he's just waiting for that gold card now. But but it's just
Wow, that's so true. No, I concur what you're saying, Harry. So true. I think with that's why it's so important to have your fathers in the picture. And I think we're all quite fortunate to have our both parents and our fathers in our lives. But I'm just wondering for those of us who, or those young men out there, or younger youth, in terms of no fathers and all that. I know you working as a lawyer as well. What do you think in terms of, or what are your thoughts? And I know there's a lot of stats out there, and people saying, "Oh, no father figures, missing fathers. It's a lot of destruction in the family." But what are your thoughts in terms of our men in Aotearoa, like with no fathers, and the experiences that you think or have you seen?
Yeah, man, it's a tough one, because every person's circumstances are different, But generally, if it's predicated on several things, but I'll highlight two. One, that's when you need your collective to actually pull together the wider extended family, And in saying so, man, I've seen some mums pull off the best jobs, You know, a strong woman taking care of our men, Don't get me wrong, man. There's no substitute for a father. But where mothers have had to pick up the slack, man, we honor them, We absolutely honor them. And so, but that's where you need the collective, your uncles and stuff like that are able to provide that wraparound support, or able to provide that father figure in that person's life, So, but, you know, that's granted that the family's functional, that it's whangi. If it's not, then you start turning your attention to this is why I say, man, church groups or social groups are incredibly important. Like, I find that we're starting to drift away a bit from the faith-based organizations, but that's where, man, I had my second fathers in there just disciplining me, you know, clipping me around the ear if I wasn't in line. Was having the social or cultural and faith-based supports that wrap around and provide life. So if you have those two pillars, even if you just have one of those two pillars, then that's a step in the right direction. Then we can actually provide that father figure that's needed in one's life. Some might not have those two, and let's be real, but you hope that some form of group, whether it be sporting, cultural, or church, has a figure that's able to mentor them and be that presence in their life. And saying so, like I said, man, women play that part, single mothers play that part, man, and I absolutely take my hat off to them who do the best with what they have. So it's a real plug. Just consider yourself blessed if you still have that opportunity with a father. But I think there's also that question of mentorship as well that comes into the picture. But no substitute for a father, man. And yeah, I think it's the difficult kind of thing for some situations.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks, so
powerful, man. So your current roles, I know you're on the board of the whānau, but are you working for the council at the moment?
Yeah, so yeah, we've got a local board out here that looks after Mangele and Otahu. And people ask, "Oh, what do you guys do? What's your local board do?" Honestly, I was like, man, I don't blame you, but just goes to show how disconnected our people are with the political system, And I see it, is it by accident or by design? And you unpack it, man, you realize, man, because, man, our people are the most political people, but the way that it's packaged or the way that it's disguised prevents us from engaging in this political system.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And so I sit on the local board, and basically, if you own a house, you pay rates, right? And those rates come to us, and then we decide exactly where we should put those rates. Should we invest them in parks? Should we have better libraries, and so on and so forth? So that's basically what my role does, is to advocate for our community, to make sure that, the money or the limited resources that we do have, we're able to meet the priorities for our community here in Mangere Otahu. So that's my role there at the Mangere Otahu local board. That's just administering that. So that's different from central government.
Yeah.
So central government, let's say, for example, you get taxed. Say you work at your job. So, back when you were doing your bodybuilding professional circuit, Charles, when you were doing the Arnold Classic, you got your performing, and that tax obviously gets taxed. That money goes to the government or the MPs, and then they will decide in terms of, where we allocate those kind of that budget, and they advocate on your behalf. They set the laws basically that, either probe or make the system better, or, observe the status quo. So those are kind of the two key differences between local government and central government. So I work in the local government space that looks after kind of our local issues. So I ran for election.
Wow.
And then, so that comes around once every 3 years. That's what I encourage everybody, especially our men, man, youngest on the board, but man, you guys are leaders in your own right, and the political system is supposed to reflect its community. So it's not supposed to be made up of lawyers and all these, not wannabe, but all these esteemed. It's supposed to reflect the community that it serves, right? Not the other way around, not the people that we think should do well. So if you're a builder, if you just have a heart for the community, then run, man, throw your name in the hat. You have something to offer, and that's, and that's what we have.
That's powerful.
Because then you wonder why there's bike lanes here, and then you're like,
well, that's what I was gonna ask. Because since you're on the local board, were you part of the board that decided to put on the bike lanes? And no one's riding bikes in the area?
I'll be sure to pass that on to my colleagues. That I said it was
you. To all our Mangele residents, we got him here. We're holding them accountable. He wasn't part of that decision making, but he's gonna take it back, and we'll get you some bikes. We'll get you some bikes.
Free bikes in Mangele, Otahu.
That's for my voters in Mangele, Brisbane. To be fair, I joined. I joined, and they had already. I joined in 2019, so 2 years ago. So it was already in place. Before I got it, but honestly, you would not, man. You wouldn't believe how many times that issue comes up.
Yeah.
And I've got to be a bit fair here to my colleagues who advocated for it, because on one hand, we're trying to get our people active, We're trying to get our people active. We're trying to bring them through bikes and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, you implemented something on us that no one really wanted, and like the community are angry, It just goes to show, if you don't have a say, right, then be prepared for these things to be imposed on you, eh? So that's why it's important that you have a say. And generally, a lot of the drivers are from people that don't even live in here, eh? Are from people that live in Central who want to come do their cool ass bike tours through our area, and then just get their dog poo on the corner for us to pick up while they walk their poodles as well. But that's so insane. Like, that's the real encouragement, eh? Is that, man, like, this is supposed to reflect you, man, and you know, this is a case in point of our community, or something that's really good in principle, but perhaps struggled to fail in application, eh? And you learn that along the way, eh? Something that's a really cool idea, but when you actually carry it out, nobody likes it, or everyone's just like, who the hell can even afford a bike in these days? And actually, you know, utilize them. So I guess aside from my siren riders that are driving up and down, you know, giving us hearing aid problems, but you know, that's honestly sirens are crack up ass.
Oh, man. Well, it's good to know, Harry. It's good to know that what you just mentioned. There's a lot of Joe blogs out there who have a heart for the communities, but they don't think, oh yeah, because they need to have some sort of quals, or have, like you're saying, some sort of esteem to jump in and represent the community. And I think, touching on community, because you from being out west, what was it like? What was the transition like when you're from west, then you come all the way to south? Like, in terms of change, change and all that kind of stuff. What's
I man, like when I grew up out west, man, west was everything to me, eh? Like, much like diehard Southsiders out here, I thought I couldn't move out, eh? And then but I would say, you know, when you grew up, you knew your neighbors and stuff like that. Like, there was that real community spirit. Everyone looks out for each other, you know, everybody. As I grew older, I don't know if that was still there, eh? Like, out west. And so you yearn for that kind of community. And then when I moved out here, I was like, oh fuck, this is just like west, like even better. Like, yeah, it's still got that heart, you know, that sense of community, and that sense of communal responsibility, eh? And despite, you know, what media says, hey, man, that is the place to raise your children, man. That is the place to be. There's a real heart in this community. And I see the same for Otara and stuff like that, eh? Like, you know, 274, there's that real identity that everybody buys into, eh? And, oh, man, I would even go as far as to say, you know, people identify more with the areas here than some do with their villages back home in Samoa, eh? Like, 275, eh? So it's an evolving kind of identity, but in essence, the longing or the community that I desired when I was young, that slowly diminished as I grew older out west, is actually alive and thriving while here in South. So that's why it was such an easy transition. And then, man, just the people, like, it's like every second person, malo sa phone, you know, they go on to the malo ko you know, in and around, like, you know, so there's that real in Zumba at lunchtime, and around.
That's cool.
I love, man, but about the community, so yeah,
that's me. Oh, so that goes to no, the next question was and you've already answered it, like, how have you adapted to that change? And so when you go back out west and you see the people in your community, they're all like this. You refer them to the whānau, eh?
Man, all right, man, no jokes aside, but west, the deprivation that we're seeing out west is no longer, it's pretty much almost on par with south now. When you actually start looking at the language, so there was the Southern Initiative looking at addressing the kind of challenges that we have here at South, and then there's the Western Initiative, So it just shows where our population base is as Pacific peoples. It's growing out west as well. It's probably second to South. So our issues are relatively the same, but South has a higher kind of gravity or higher level of deprivation. But Sole West is not far behind, man. It's not far behind. And so that's why, But if I reflect, man, where I'm at now, living out South, you can talk whatever you like, but if you're not living in the heart of the belly of the beast, then, you know, you're just a fraud. So, you know, actually living here and seeing the struggle and, you know, living with the neighbors who are part of our good members of society, aka the TCs and all the corner. But yeah, but, you know, you realize, hey, nah, these guys are part of my community, and that's basically it. Hey, so
that's cool.
It's how it works. But there's a particular a fear that every time we go through COVID or every time we have a lockdown, I think there's a real worry that I have when I sleep at night. You've been entrusted by your community to take care of them or at least advocate for them. But we know that during COVID and during lockdown, the most disproportionately affected are our people, our Māori Pacific. And so when you're reduced just to the wage subsidy, say I earn, say, $800, you know, at the end of the week, even on minimum wage, and I'm reduced down to 523 or whatever the wage subsidy is, you know there's going to be some sleepless nights in our neighbours around us. If you cast your mind back to saying to what I said about what's the point of my success if my neighbour's struggling, then how better off are we as a community? Because, you know, that's what I think is implicit in every man and every islander is the responsibility or duty that you have to your neighbour or to your family to do well. So yeah, that's what but then, you know, you take faith in things like this, you know, in these platforms where we're able to express our vulnerabilities, where we're able to say, yeah, I'm scared, but hey, I can share this challenge with you, or we can walk together. That's the beauty of these kind of platforms that I wish more and more are able to kind of speak. You spoke of Israel. He had a post today where he just said, look, man, you know, a post about feeling depressed and not being there kind of thing. Man, the more vulnerable we are, you know, I think that the more better off we are to realize that we don't walk through these things alone. So that's just kind of like, you know, the pluses and the highs and the lows that we have to navigate as men.
Yeah, that's so cool, Harry. Harry, because you're right, you bring a good point in terms of our fellow men, or as you know, helping each other and so forth. But in terms of in this day and age, what do you think? Because I know, like you were saying, you described West Auckland back in the days, and think, oh man, it was just a communal community. Everyone kind of knew each other. But I'm just wondering, what do you think in terms of these days? A lot of men, or a lot of us are now becoming, and I don't know, you may have your own thoughts. A lot of us are not kind of helping our brother or our neighbors now, and have become more individualistic instead of like communal. And what do you think? What do you think? Why do you think that there's something that's happening right now in this day and age?
Yeah, I mean, there's the basic instinct to survive, So you've just got that. I'll just take care of me and myself only. Me and my, you know, there's that real individualistic kind of perspective, and consumerism doesn't help that. You know, it's all about you. It's not really pitched to you and your family. It's just, you know, you take care of yourself. You succeed. We operate in a Western system that rewards the individual and punishes the individual. Like we live. And if you think about it, as we go generations further down, living here in Aotearoa, when you take care of yourself and stuff like that, whereas opposed to living in Sa, you know, there's the village whānau is taking care of your ainga and so on and so forth. And that nuclear family that concept doesn't really stick. Or that's real different. So that's why we're starting to see a shift, I'd say, more to the individualistic kind of take care of me and my own self just to survive, but it's exacerbated as we go further and further in this kind of Western setup. So that's why it's important that the roles that the family play, the churches, these institutions that keep the communal or collective identity alive. So you know, you live beyond just yourself, but you live you live in service of the collective and alongside the collective. So that's just I think a short answer that kind of addresses that tendency to start living, you know, because we're all guilty of it. Let's be real, we're all guilty of it from time to time. But you know, I don't want, you know, we all don't want our children growing up where they just take care of themselves. Yeah, I mean, it was good, you know, but there's a beauty in struggle and sharing your struggle, you know. Like, when you always pack up my church boys, about, you know, like, these are the days, you know. I mean, one packet of chips amongst five of us, someone's trying to hold the bottom of the bag so you can't grab it.
Yeah.
You know, these are the kind of The stories those are the beauty. That's kind of the collective struggle that I want our children to experience. That you want, you never want to lose that side of collectivism. But just in the day and age that we're in, man, it's just it's a real tough way to grow up, man. And might not be the same challenges that we face. That's what we have to recognize as we grow older. That young people, man, like if you think about it, if we made a mistake back in our days, it was all good. Say only you and your friends knew. But in this day and age, where everything's recorded on Instagram, on Facebook, man, that's receipts for days. That can come back to they can really damage your psychology living and moving forward. Whereas you could just live a normal life and your friends will mock you about it, but when it's actually and there's that real kind of you look at the kind of the research, you look at mental health of young people and the rise of social media platforms. They're almost like they're inextricable, like they're so tied together because we put on this facade like we got it all, like I'm living my best life. Well, man, you're the gatekeeper of what you put online, and 99% of the time we're not actually putting a true reflection of what's going on. So if there's a real reflection about this, man, I ain't got my stuff together, and that's fine, but we need to have more of these conversations to be real with ourselves, to say, hey, look, I don't have my shit together, sorry, Tilo, but man, this is where I'm at, and it is what it is. So I think it's a gift and a curse, social media, to be honest, in this day and age where social media, is becoming indispensable in the lives of our young people. Such a hard, I guess, thing for us as men, even as fathers, to even try to instruct our young people. So perhaps that's the new age for us as men. If you think about the struggle that our parents had to navigate, learning a new system, perhaps that's the new migration for our generation, is how do we navigate this digital space so who our kids who are going to grow up and find like things at the norm, man, you look, man, there's a real worry, man, like you look at how accessible sexual material is for young men. What impact is that having on their lives? What impact is that having on their lives? Or body image of our young people in that? Man, we grew up in a time where that stuff was hard to actually say, only the last our boys had access to those bags and stuff like that. But, our boys were just handing out the word for today in the Gideon Bible.
We had broadband back in our days.
Back in the day, but these are the fun. See, it's funny we laugh about it, but the reality is this is becoming more accessible, more normalized than what it was. And yes, I'm grateful for the cultural upbringings that we had, or the church that we had, because it provided some form of that moral compass, or at least some grounding. We don't want to normalize sexuality to the point where where porn and that kind of stuff becomes normal. No. This is one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have to face as men, and having conversations with our young men in terms of navigating that digital space. And just touch on that, because I think that's a rising thing. That's a real taboo that we don't speak about. We joke about it. We love to joke about it, but if we're not going to say it, or if the church is not going to say it, well, who's going to teach our young men about sexuality? The internet. It's just the real young Alec. That's the real young Alec challenge.
That's so good, man. Yeah, how do we be in that world when not of the day? So navigating through those tensions and trying to be countercultural and helping our young people navigate through that. Because man, I was looking through TikTok, and then Solly, that's almost like soft porn,
Man, that's stuff, man. Straight up, that's the honest true face. Some of it's just, but see how it's almost become normalized. I remember when I was a kid, as soon as something even remotely, they were going to kiss him in a remote. Like, come find remote. or if you do that, I was going to come up.
I was watching. Do you remember Family Matters with Steve Urkel? I was watching that, and the girl and Steve Urkel went to kiss, and my grandma told us to turn off the television. She goes, man, go Kaliki, get off. And I was going, man, this is not bad.
Right, yeah, or you know that there's gonna be a naughty scene coming up. You just go off the house.
Dad, wanna eat Puki?
But see, like, man, that's the challenge, man. Like, we the cultural norms, we don't discuss it, where it's rather taboo in churches or more churches. Sorry to kind of not generalize, but some don't really touch on that topic.
Yeah, that's good.
How do we navigate it? Because even my dad, like when my dad never spoke to me about it, but there was always this implied kind of thing that you should know what to do. But man, I reflect, and with our kids, the hope is that we have those discussions about sexuality, about how to treat a woman, which is another kind of thing, because you don't really know, you only go off what you see, or if you had older brothers that had girlfriends and stuff, what they do, or even how our parents treated each other. Yeah, wow. Then we need to have kind of more of those conversations as well. So
that's so true. What do you think? What do you think, Harry? Because I'm thinking, and you're right. I totally agree, Harry, what you're saying in terms of the social norms and technology and social media. But why is it so hard for men, and it could be even ourselves? Why is it hard for us to even talk about those issues, or and not talk about normalizing some of those things that we've experienced ourselves growing up, and how to treat a woman, sexuality, all that kind of stuff. But why is it still hard in this day and age for us as men to go, hey, son, this is what, and this is all that kind of stuff? What are your thoughts? Why is it?
I think because we were conditioned as young people not to discuss it, and you find that a lot of what we're shaped as young will manifest in, as we're older, Like, so even as we joke about it, because we didn't really discuss it, or even on an open platform as this, I don't really talk about this stuff on an open platform. And there's almost that laughter, kind of almost, I don't know, the shame to talk about it. Yeah, like you feel, but I don't know. So I want to be honest here. I don't know. I can only draw on what I was raised with. This is what we never spoke about it. We never think. And man, I never forget. But when my brother told my dad that he got his, my sister-in-law pregnant, and my dad just went silent. I'll never forget what Mum said. My mum was like, well, how else was he supposed to know? You never spoke about it. And it always stuck with me for ages. I still chuckle about it to this time. But it just goes to show you, we have to traverse those cultural norms. But I was like cracking up my mind. But the reality is, like, if we're not going to, it goes back to, if we're not going to talk about it, then expect somebody else to. And that somebody else is going to be the internet. That somebody else will be a porn site. That somebody else will actually be friends that are actually who don't know jack all about, love or whatever. They're going to inform them. And that's probably my biggest critique of either the church or perhaps even our culture. We should discuss these things. But I just hope that we have some kind of leadership or some guidance in and around this circle, because even I can be honest, we are trying to figure it out as we go away. So maybe in 5-10 years time we'll have an answer in terms of what might be the right way, but each to their own. I think it's good that we just flag it out for those, and to know that, hey, look, we all laughed about it, which means that we don't really kind of know, but probably everybody doesn't really know. But I guess that's why we have those guidance, whether it's through the Bible or whether it's through our cultural norms that are able to kind of give us the indication. So I hope, man, but that's a great hope, I guess.
Cool, man. That's so cool.
That's so true. Just thinking back to the upbringing, and just even now, because I got a teenage daughter, she's 16.
Yeah.
And then so there's stuff that she's navigating through, and even when I gave the talk, it came out of a place like trying to growl her around. Oh, why are you texting this person? And go, all the boys think about is this. And go, they're dirty, and so I gave her a really bad reality or idea of what sex or relationship looks like. And so after we sort of unpacked it, had to sit down, but it was a tough conversation because we never got it.
Well, exactly. There's no manual, man.
We had to get it from our boys.
Exactly.
But all the boys are talking about like other stuff.
Yeah.
I got from the book of Songs of Solomon, I think.
Those last time, mate, they were known for different things. The Songs of Solomon. Honestly, man, we laugh. It's funny, we laugh about it, man. But even talking of it, it's hey, we've got to bring the stuff to light, otherwise we'll,
And I think that's the heart behind Mandate. And I seen all these other podcasts, which was amazing. I really want to celebrate that. I didn't even know until just recently, but just more content from our men and our people, and just normalizing these conversations, and then in the hope that men will create their own circles and sort of wrestle with it, and just know that, oh man, I'm going through what you're going through, and let's talk about it, and let's navigate it, navigate through this together. So yeah. Do you have that circle for you also in terms of manhood or fatherhood, or just people that keep you in check?
Yeah, big time, man. I think, and you got particular characters within the group, you know what I mean, or within the circle, ones that will always listen to you, just play that listening role, and then there's the other ones that will actually instruct you, say, yeah, you're a bit of a dick, but this is how you can kind of, and it's generally those relationships that you cherish the most. You cherish all of them, but the ones that challenge you and expect the most out of you, they're the ones that, it's painful at the time, when you say your truth, but, it's for the best day. So, but they each have a particular role to play in your well-being, Sometimes you need that person just to sit there and listen to, but then sometimes you need to hear the truth where the other person will just, and you just guys will just mock to the days, So I've got that circle, man, and that's probably the biggest kind of encouragement for walk away, is to know that there's that circle within, and it's always, and honestly, even with my boys, it took one of my university boys, like 2 years ago, I think it was, 2 years ago, we lost one of our brothers, like through suicide, and we're boys and stuff like that. But I think when he took his life, that's when, it's unfortunate, but that was the catalyst of us just normalizing talking about whether we're going through crap or so on and so forth. And so, it's unfortunate that he's not here with us to this day. But, I think that the blessing of the situation was that we were able to talk, man. And as soon as someone identified, man, I'm going through stuff, boys were around instantly, And so from time to time, someone would just check in, or someone just say, even I love you, which we don't really say to our boys, to be honest, Like, it almost falls in that humble category, We don't articulate it enough. My dad didn't tell me he loved me back in the days when I was young, but as we grew older, like now, he's hard up, I love you so much, like that. But I think, and when we normalize the emotional side, when we start to encourage the emotional side, to talk about your feelings, that's when we become, I guess, better men in the long run,
That's me. So, man, we could go all night and
fucking daddy.
Oh man, we could go all night. I'm really enjoying this Talanoa, but I'm really weary of time. Also, and respectful of your time as well. But we gotta get you back in the studio, bro.
Yeah, man.
Hey, even if we get you and Efeso on the same table at the same time, mate. We'll probably should have a cover session,
Man, hard out. When the restrictions drop,
hard up.
It'd be good just to chop it up, in we talk a lot, but honestly, it'd be good, to hear your story, to hear Mad Messenger's story as well. You know what I mean, in regards to this, which is unfortunate because we don't get to chop it up hard out on a platform after. But yeah, man, these relationships are cool, and you realize, man, we all went through similar struggles, man. No matter where you grew up in Auckland,
hard up, bro.
Man, it's just some had different areas that were a bit more, and others,
I love that, man. Sure, also. Oh, Pete, did you have a burning question? Every time I look at Pete when he's looking down, I get jealous of his locks, of his hair, because see, look.
Oh,
So I'm looking, bro. I'm looking at his hair and I'm going, man, I wish it was that wavy. But no, sorry, Pete. Did you have something?
Oh no, just because I know you're a very busy man, Harry. I know you're busy and you're full on. But what it'd be interesting to know, and I think a lot of men would love to hear this. What do you do for self-care when your world's not too busy? What do you get up to? Also?
Self-care, honestly, I like running, So running for me is like I'll just plug the headphones in and just run, Like I'm not, my king was just a bit out of shape.
Show your abs, man. Take your shirt off. Show your abs.
I just having a bit of, man, running, like I think it's for me, because that's what I do for self-care. It's just to zone out, just chuck on some sounds and just generally run. And I think a lot during that time as well. Like a lot of the stuff just comes through my. And you run hard out on the main roads, you makua yoki on the side road.
running on the main roads forces you to keep on running, because people are driving past.
And you think you're running really fast, but you're just like power walking next to
That is true.
You see the guy laughing. But yeah, I think it's just, that's the activity for me. Everyone's different, but running is generally when I think, or sometimes I just go quietly and my wife is like one of two things, either I'm deeply thinking or I'm really pissed off because I'm not one of these guys who just like, she'll be like, I was just like one of these guys who just howdy. So one of those go real quiet ones, but that's more the self-care ones, because obviously, like, as we get older, we can't always chill out with the boys, you know what I mean? Like, have big catch-ups and stuff. But one thing that's been real beneficial is that we make, especially for our church boys, we make once a month where someone will host. And that's where we go and we chop it up. Well, honestly, 90% of our catch-ups are just same memories, just rehashing back and forth, but everyone's just mocking each other. But that, honestly, man, that self-care, that kind of tops your cup up, man. To see familiar faces, to banter, trade, and stuff like that. And even within that circle, those who can really unload with your boys that you can unload with. But that's self-care for me also, is generally running and or having a feed day, going for a feed with somebody that you care with. Like this, that's one of the key things there. Last one I have to review, because you do a challenge, you realize, like, where's this challenge? You realize how much of our catch-ups are around food. So, man, like, we love our food, but I think, man, that might have to be one of the topics that comes up later on, Like, because, as you grow older, you start thinking, shoot, my health. Start thinking about my kids, flip, I better start, taking care of my health. But, man, that's the one thing I hate, Southway. Just the baddest food. I'm so lost. I'm just playing this place. But yeah, that's the self-care, brother.
Absolutely. Before I go to the last question, little Abner's or his brother store in Te Arotu?
Nah, not. I kept the both of them. Choice, the one next to
Choice. Okay.
Man, the little Abner's is her dad's, but the one out which they got brought up in here, guys.
Oh,
yeah. Nah, but little Abner's had the wrapping until we found out the Choice had that nice sauce. Nice
sauce, yeah.
But honestly, try the Curry Palace, the one on the corner.
Yeah, bro.
Oh man, that's the bomb, man. Mate, you guys got some sleepers out there. Like good stuff out there, you always. But yeah, if it was 10 out to it, probably little Abner's by a nose, but so the Choice is probably the
Choice. Everyone's there now, eh? Oh, sweet. Cool. So, thanks heaps, bro. But just this last one here. If you could give one sentence or phrase of inspiration to impart to our viewers, what would it be? But if you can't compact it in a phrase, give us an essay.
With a thesis.
Yeah, I think I will probably a phrase, but I think there's a story in the Bible that talks about this man who went to see Elisha, and I think they were about to be attacked, and then they were like, "Oh, go see Elisha," like, but Elisha was like, he prayed for his eyes to be open, and when his eyes were open, there were actually an army standing around him, kind of thing, ready to kind of take on the enemies. And that story stuck with me for many reasons, and I think it will stick with our viewers as well. There's a temptation just to view yourself going through a particular struggle or tribulation by yourself. And I remember going to university or going to school, and I will either remember listening to my grandmother do her loko in the morning, or my dad getting up to go for work, to realize that sometimes your eyes have to be open, that there are people standing alongside you, praying for you, or walking alongside you in your struggle. And they may not be visible, the physical, but they're there praying for you in the spiritual. And if there's an encouragement for our men, is that there's a big move these days to say you got it all together. But know that, in the wise words of the Liverpool, Arsenal, you never walk alone, You'll never walk alone. And that's probably the sentence, is that you never walk alone, that there's been people that have come before you, that you stand on the shoulders of giants, and that, that God is people around you, and that whatever you're going through will come to pass, and that you'll never walk alone. So that's my encouragement for me. Yeah. Fitting,
My man, Harry, man. Thank you so much, Uso. Thank you so much for tonight. Really appreciate it, Harry. Everything you've said, and like Charles was saying, we definitely need to have you in the studio, man. We need to. It'll be cool to have you and Whaadana and just have another kōrero talanoa. But man, thank you so much for the gold nuggets, bro. Just really, just feel really enriched tonight also. And so, is there anyone that you could think of, Harry, that could be beneficial or could be good on the show?
Yep, I've got a little teacher at Sir Edmund Hillary College, and his name is Lolo Taili'i, or Lolo Onisimo. So, it's just funny because I think perhaps a lot of our generation have been, discussed and engaged, but it'll be good to kind of see someone who's a bit younger than us, but is working actually with young people who are coming through at the moment. So to hear his story, as well as seeing kind of like the actual active kind of people on the front line. So, real proud of this young guy. But yeah, definitely Lolo, who's a little, a youngster that I've mentored as well. But I don't think my mentoring went, just turned him down a bad path at that time. Like all clubs and good managers split over time. So yeah, not much. So yeah, that's someone that I'll encourage for the next show. So happy to put that connect through, brother. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Any last things you want to say, Charles?
Nah, bro, just again, how I started, just want to honor you and the work that you do. In years and generations to come, you'll be one of the shoulders that our next generation will be standing on because of the platform and the foundation that you're setting and the pathway that you're setting for our people. And I look at you as a pillar and as, a spearhead, with arrows. There's a spearhead, and the spearhead like pierces through for the rest of the arrow to come through. So I just want to honor you in that, bro, and keep on going. I'm so glad we've made this connection. I'm so glad that I know you by name, and hopefully when I come through Mangele and I see you doing your sumpa, I'll come and say hi.
So they just come and then they go right next to the chicken
No, Harry, you're going straight there, Harry. You're going straight there, Harry.
Hey, guys, walk my some people. Hey, we found them. Appreciate it.
Also. But Harry, but just before we kind of wrap it up, also every guest that comes on the show, we always give them a gift, and we want to gift this to you, bro. So you know, I'll be looking down and kind of jotting down the things you've shared and all you've been talking about, and so this is for you also. So I did a bit of a caricature sketch for you. This is for you also.
Oh, Stolen. Cheers, man. To hell. Stolen. Thanks, Stolen.
Yeah, man. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is for you. And hopefully when the alert levels go down, Charles and I will come by and we'll drop it off to you. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry, man. I love her. I love her.
Look at that.
Oh, very humbled, man.
No.
Sorry, you just showed me the six-pack. I just need to.
Thank you, Uso.
Appreciate it, man. Oh, that's amazing, bro. But thank you, more importantly, thank you to both for the work that you do. And I know that there will be people, you know, listening on your platform or your daily interactions that will be impacted by the topics that we discuss here. So really honor the work that you guys do with our young men or even our men in general, laying that challenge forward, but normalizing these difficult conversations, that we never had as men. Hopefully can help, like you said, the years or generations to come. So hopefully in their time, when they come, you know, they're better equipped. So I just want to honor you two both. Thank you two both for the opportunity, and man, got to chop it up sometime with Gavo, with Whananai Fiso and Barney as well, you know.
Oh, yeah, hard up.
Yeah, that's the one.
Good mental also, man. So it'll be really good to chop it up as well. So that's me, boys. If there's anything else that you guys wanted to.
All good, bro. We're going to give you the last words, Harry. The last words for you to say. Yeah,
it's just, man. I think back to my journey, and I hope it's of some use to men that are listening in, young and old age. That we spoke about that refining, that process of learning from our mistakes and achieving our goals. But there was a real process of discipline and refining that you had to learn from your hardest lessons. And along that way, there were people or there were moments that unlocked or knew that there was that kind of fire within you or that ability to go that extra step. So I honor those who unlocked or saw that potential within me, who persevered within me, and ultimately led me to kind of take charge and to own this calling that I had long, had struggled with or had insecurities with. So there's a calling in your life, and there will be people along the way that will help refine you to where you need to be or challenge you and unlock you to actually take charge of that calling and conviction. So in closing, I just want to say you'll never walk alone. Remember that you'll never walk alone. Whatever you face will come to pass.
Mandate.